Welcome to my podcast, Filmmaking, Actually. Ta-da! This episode is a part 1 of 2 clips from a recent Patreon panel, How Do You Finance Your Dreams, Actually?, with special guest Maya Weinreb of Solvency Now Bookkeeping. She offers some really useful advice, and while the full video of the event will be posted on our Patreon and clips will be on our social media, I'm excited to share this portion of the event with you. Enjoy.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Really great to have everybody here. I'm really excited to be joined by the amazing Maya Weinreb, who is not only a dear friend, but also a absolutely brilliant business and finance person who has a ton of experience, both with all of that stuff that we hate, bookkeeping and taxes and accounting and all of that stuff. But she also has some really great insight just to how to not totally fall apart when facing the world of finance. So thank you for being here, Maya. So the F word. I'm kidding. It's not that bad. Finance is definitely a
that F word.
That F word.
The rules we're not allowed to swear. Is that what's happening?
No, so sorry. The finance word. It's definitely a stressful subject for most of us in the film industry, both for working with film, getting finance for our films, getting paid for the jobs that we do for film. So I'll start with the very, very basics. What is financial planning and how is that relevant to chasing a dream that requires having money to do it?
Yeah, wow. That's such a good question. It's imperative. Let me use a big word. So I have clients that are actors and influencers, and I have friends that are clients and influencers. I also have clients that are doctors and lawyers, and so it's not just I don't only work for actors and creatives, so I just want to say that, but I do have a lot of experience, so I will be able to answer in the best of my ability. I don't know everything. I don't know how you get financing. I have no idea, but I can answer to the best of my ability. Okay.
I did say you wouldn't be talking about how to get financing, but that's not what this is about. What to do with the money that you earn and how to manage that so that you're not constantly struggling and not able to manage.
Okay, so I'm going to start with, we always spend all the money that we make and more. And that's every person, if you don't do that, then you're the anomaly, you're the exception to the rule. But in general, even look at the US economy budget. They're like, oh, we're only 10 trillion in debt. We're doing better. I don't know. It's crazy. So everybody needs financial planning. To survive, you need financial planning. The less money you make, the better financial planning you have to have. So when you're going through times of hard times, of not enough money, that's when you have to be even more disciplined and have better financial planning. When you are doing really well and you're successful, it's very important to have it, but it doesn't affect you as much. You're like, oh, I'll just, I'll have all this more money coming tomorrow. But how many of my clients, of my actor friends, my creatives, when they get that big paycheck, like we talked about, they go buy a new car. I had a conversation, I had dinner with a friend of mine who's an actor a couple of months ago, and he was like, on a relatively, big TV show. I'm probably not supposed to say who or what, right? But he was on a relatively big TV show for a few years. And he was like, yeah, I felt like I had to look the part. So I had to buy, an expensive car. I had to live in a fancy apartment. And after paying, my manager, my agent, he's like, I got to the end and I have no money left, none. And I was like, well, did you put aside money for savings? Do you have a rainy day fund? Do you have, your 6 months of reserves? And he was like, no, I should have done that, but I didn't because it just felt like the money was coming. And I was like, yeah. And it hurts because I know he made good money for those 3 years. So what you need to do is when you are making money is put aside money. Have you ever read, Koura, you read this book, I'm sure, The Richest Man in Babylon?
I haven't actually.
It's such a good book. It's heartfelt. I cried reading it, and it gives you really good financial advice. So I recommend that book to everybody. You have to live in a percentage of your income. You have to be able to put money aside to reserves, especially when you don't have a steady paycheck as an actor, a creative, influencer, whatever. You have to be so disciplined to put that money aside so that when that contract is over, that TV show is over, and you're between jobs and you need to get the new one, you have money to live on. So, I mean, I could go on, but it is so important, and it's more important when you're making less money, but it's still important. Obviously, if you did it when you're making more money, then those percentages are bigger, but you have to just live inside of your means and know that your means are not 100% of your paycheck. Your means are going to be 65 to 85%, and not even of your whole paycheck, because we already know what do you lose, like 20 to 30% between your agent and your manager and your lawyer and whatever else you've got going on. So we're talking about you have to live on 60 to 80% of your net paycheck, what you actually get in your pocket.
And if you are paying taxes out of that, like you're a freelancer, you have to set aside for the taxes that you might have to pay at the end of the year as well. Yeah. So talking about those percentages, like I know for me, people ask me, they're like, how do you afford this? Like, you know, are you like secretly rich? And I'm like, if I was secretly rich, I would be on set making features like 24/7 and all of you would be working for me right now. Like that's what we would be doing. We would be on a waiver and we would be like making all of the movies. But what Spacey and I do is we have, like, I literally have like a spreadsheet where anytime we get paid, whether someone gives me $50 to make a poster for them or they pay me $5,000 to, you know, edit some videos for them, we take the exact same percentage, whether it was $50 or $5,000. We take that percentage and a percentage goes into savings. Mm-hmm. And then the balance that's left, I take 75% of that and I put it to bills. And again, if it was $50, that might only be $32 or whatever's left of that, whatever 75% or whatever is left of that $50. Mm-hmm. I take that and I put it to bills. And even if bills aren't due, we pay on credit cards, we pay whatever. As soon as we have the money, we pay
or
pay
even
bills.
Just have it set aside for when the bill, you know, like
is due.
Yeah. And even to take it a step further, and to take it a little bit out of having to remember to make a spreadsheet every week, because I know that's hard for people. What I started telling my clients to do was to just pick a fixed amount, you know, that based on your average income that it's been recently. And even if it's like $100 a week or $50 a week, just set it up as an auto transfer to a savings account or a money market account that's outside of your bank account. Like I use Acorns a lot. So it's just, you just set it, and I do it for myself too. And right now, I mean, I have like, you know, whatever, a few hundred at a time that goes out. But when I started out, it was like $25 and it was just always going to happen no matter what, because I didn't have to think about it.
And Acorns is like a finance investing app, right? Just for anyone who's not familiar with that.
Just like a money market account. So it's like, yeah, it's technically it's investing, but I don't really care about that. I just care that it's not in my bank account. Because if it's in my bank account, even if I have it in a savings account that I can see when I log in, I think I have that money and I don't.
Right.
And the other great and annoying thing about most of those outside type of savings accounts, money market, investment accounts, whatever, is that it takes you 3 to 6 business days to move that money. It's never your first go-to if you want to buy something that you don't necessarily need. You're not going to be like, oh yeah, let me just get that money from my savings account, because it's not going to be there for a week. You kind of have to reevaluate the importances of things. And I think that helps with discipline. At least for me, it helps me with my accountability. So I've set that up for my clients that are, you know, creatives and actors, just like, let's automatically move this money so you don't have to think about it. It's not as precise as having a percentage. Like you said, like the percentage would be even better, but it takes it out of your having to remember to sit down and do it when not all of us are super disciplined to do that.
That's valid. I definitely am not perfect at it and I do struggle a little bit with it, but it is my go-to. And for me, that is what works. And I think you're right. Finding what works for you is what's really important.
Yeah.
And like maybe someone will come up with a third thing that, like for me, I have another account that I actually don't know the login information to. Like I can go to the bank, I have a debit card that works with the account, but I don't actually know how much money is in there until I get mailed my statement at the end of the month. Every single month, I'm like, oh, I totally forgot that I have this money. And it's not a lot of money, but after I take off that savings and that bills, I take 15% and I put it in that account just
Nice.
every time. And then something happens, like we needed new tires on our car. And I was like, how am I going to afford new tires? And then I was like, oh, I have money in savings. I wasn't able to afford all of the tires, but I was able to pay most of it and I didn't have to put it all on credit cards.
Yeah.
And then I also, I don't know if this is something that you advise, but like I save the last 10% of what's left. And I say, this is my budget for fun. This is my budget for going to the movies, for going out to dinner. If it's, someone's birthday and I want to buy a present, like this is my money that is not bills, savings, set aside. Like this is, and then I know this is how much money I have.
I love that. I love that because I think it's so depressing to feel like you have no money to have fun with and you can't go get your nails done and you can't go out to eat every once in a while and, stuff like that. So I think it's great to give yourself a budget to do that. Some people even will do like, they'll put, there's people who are so detailed at this that they'll put a certain percentage in each account. Like they'll have their tax set aside account, they'll, all these different accounts. And for instance, actually, QuickBooks Online has a really good envelope set up in their QuickBooks checking account. So you can literally say it's all in one account, but you can say what each, set aside is for, which I think is great. And I use that for like marketing set asides and tax set asides and stuff like that. But for personal stuff, there will be people who will have a separate kind of like debit card, like you said, that they transfer themselves spending money. And like, this is my spending money. And when I run out, that's it. And all the other things are in kind of like the accounts that have purposes like for bills or whatever. But giving yourself a set amount of spending really helps on that discipline.
Yeah, because whenever someone is like, oh, just don't buy expensive lattes, I'm like, this is my mental health and it's $5. It's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're so disciplined and you don't, that it's more important for you to save that $5 every day, like I think that's incredibly disciplined. Me personally, I want to get my nails done at least once a month and I'm going to go do it.
I feel like if it brings, like not to be too like whatever, but like if it brings you joy, like that's you're investing in your happiness. And like
100%.
There's a responsibility in it. I can't be like, well, going to the Bahamas would make me happy.
I mean, if you make enough money, you can. There shouldn't be any limit to what that is for you. If you're on a small budget, then yeah, you have to find the small things that give you pleasure. But, if you're making hundreds of thousands and you want to spend a couple of thousand to go on a trip to the Bahamas in the same kind of percentage of like, okay, well, like it's $5 to get coffee, it's $2,000 to go to the Bahamas, do it if it makes you happy. Because the first thing you should be investing in is yourself. Just like, acting classes and, becoming members of all of the SAG and the expensive things and all that. You have to do that. You have to invest in yourself. So investing in your happiness is just as important, but you have to do it at scale of what fits into your budget.
Absolutely. So you talked about, like you mentioned, financial planning. Let's say someone is just sitting down and they have zero organization to their finances at all. Maybe they just have auto pay set up for their credit cards, and that's the extent of their knowledge of their finances. They get paid. They know when their money is getting low. They know when they have to kind of like text some friends and be like, hey, do you need any work this week? I know obviously during the strike, that's a different conversation, but, where should someone start that hasn't even begun to face their finances and organize them and plan with it?
So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go put on a strong pot of coffee and make sure you got enough sleep and roll your sleeves up. No, I'm half kidding, but you want to get, probably here's where I would start. If you don't have like a software like mint.com is a great software. It's free. You can use it to connect all of your bank accounts, credit cards, and track everything. So that's a great software. If you have a company or a corporation, then I would go to QuickBooks Online and you can start with the most inexpensive version that you should use, which is going to be Simple Start.
Simple Start, sorry.
Yeah, simple start. You don't want to use QuickBooks Self-Employed if you have a company or a corporation. It's really useless. So you want to, if you're just tracking it for yourself, then just use the free mint.com. And once you have a company, I would go to QuickBooks Online, start with Simple Start. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to go through all your finances and find out what you have been spending your money on, which does take, and that's why I said, brew a strong pot of coffee, because it takes a little bit of, chutzpah, as Jews say. Like, you got to have a little bit of tenacity and persistence and willingness to really look at yourself, because you might not want to know how much money you've actually spent at Starbucks. You might not want to know how much money you've actually spent on Ubers. Especially, I know I lived in LA. I never wanted to find parking. I Ubered all the time. It's terrible. So, if you don't have one of those software set up, you can make a spreadsheet. If spreadsheets really aren't your thing, then I would say go into mint.com and spend the time to set it up. And then you can categorize everything. If you just take your bank accounts, and I would sort it by description, categorize it. Like, just give yourself categories. We're not talking about tax categories here, but just give yourself regular categories so you know what you spent your money on. You want to have it be like fast food, transportation, enhancement, like classes, acting classes, whatever classes, whatever. It's because this is for you. This isn't for tax. This isn't for someone else. This is so you can see what you spent your money on, and do it for at least the last 3 months to get an idea. If you want to get an even better idea, and we all have things that we only pay for once a year, like registration, do it for 12 months, but at least do it for 3 months, and then you can see what you're spending your money on. The next thing I would do is I would make a list, including those things, but all the things that you want to be spending your money on. Like, do you want to be able to have money for vacations? Do you want to have money to donate to charity? Do you want to have money to pay for a new car? Put that all in there and work out kind of like how much it costs, and then break that down with like a monthly, weekly, annual, so you can break it down. I should maybe in your Patreon, we'll add some spreadsheet templates so people can kind of see what I'm talking about. But it's just like, work it out, and then once you're done with that, then you put in your income. And now you take another sip of coffee and get really zen, because this is the part where everybody cries. I cry. I understand. You go, oh, all these things that I want to pay for are $10,000 a month, and I'm making $6,000 a month. And then it's like, get really zen, because then you have to, one, cut this, budget, this financial plan, until it fits into your actual average income. But two, and the reason not to skip the step of really looking at all the things that you want to be paying for is because it creates income demand. Because it's not healthy, I think, to sit in our comfort of it's okay how it is. I think that as actors, as creatives, as entrepreneurs, we have to always be striving for more and doing better. I mean, if you don't want to, you totally don't have to. I'm not trying to tell people what to do. But I think that there's so many things that we want to create, and there's so many things that we want to do that we can't do until we're at that next level of income that we need to be at. So you keep that list of all the things that you want to pay for, and you use that as, inspiration. You keep a copy of that list of everything that you want to be able to pay for, and keep it as inspiration to work towards, to build towards. Because even for me, and my company is doing pretty well, but sometimes they would get to a point where I'd be like, all right, well, I'm paying all my bills. And you can't sit there, because there's so much more potential that each one of us has, that in order to bring it out of ourselves, we have to be able to to aspire to greatness, to greater levels, right? So it's like a bikini model picture that you want to look like. That's what you keep, that budget of like, I want to have that budget. I want to be able to pay for those things.
There's definitely, like you said, you have to sometimes sit down and like take that extra swig of coffee, because it's a lot to face.
You've been listening to Filmmaking Actually with Koura Linda, the Space Dream Productions podcast. Subscribe to us on any or all the podcast platforms. If you like what you hear, leave us 5-star ratings and positive reviews on iTunes. It helps more listeners like you discover the show. But the best thing you can do if you really like the show is tell a friend. Want to leave a comment or ask a question? Email at filmmakingactually@gmail.com. This is Spacey speaking, and remember, they say money can't buy happiness, and there's some truth in that, but hear me out. It can pay for cameras, it can pay for crew, and it can pay for craft services, so that's pretty darn close. And we'll see you next time.